Welcome to another video. Welcome to another episode of the War on China. We are today
Come
again
on.
with Mr. Mario Cavallo, who's no, I was hearing the one from YouTube, so I closed the YouTube. Welcome to all the people who are watching today, and welcome to my the creator of this show, Mr. Mario Cavallo. How are you tonight? And why don't you introduce what we're going to be talking about tonight?
Well, hi everybody. I'm very, very happy to be here this evening for this show. It's unexpected. We decided to put it together, and it's for a very good reason. It's because, Fernando, you sent me I guess it was a tweet, right? You sent me a tweet earlier
Yep.
that you had put out, and I looked at it and I went, "Wow, man, you're making such a great point." And we are going to cause a whole bunch of people out there to have a very difficult time being able to explain themselves. Okay, we've got them dead to rights, and you pointed it out, and so much so that I said, "Hey, we need to talk about
Let's
this."
do a
And then
show.
here we
Yep.
are to put together the show. So this is on you, and thank you for inviting me in. Let's go. Let's hit it.
Sure. We're also inviting other YouTubers to pop in, so we'll see if we have enough time to have them in. So don't go anywhere because there might be some guests. Because as Mary just said, we just decided to do it like an hour ago. Here's the thing. This is a video that is not going to be about the fire that took place in Xinjiang in Urumqi, where unfortunately 10 people died. We're not going to discuss the details. We're not going to discuss the rumors. We are not going to show you the videos of the things that took place. It is a very sad incident that took place. And, well, what has taken place is that all Western media, all China watchers, all China haters have jumped in and started sharing and talking and discussing this sad incident. Towards the end of the video, we're going to talk a little bit about why we're seeing protests in Zhengzhou, and are they or are they not related to COVID? Some protests in Guangzhou. We're going to talk about this as a whole. So this video is more about protests rather than the fire itself and the incident itself. And why is it important? Let's just jump in. In this fire, 10 people died. The alleged information is that some of the people were locked down and they could not get out. This hasn't been confirmed, but this is what is being alleged. Because of this information has spread around China and the world, the local people in Xinjiang turned to the streets and went to the government offices and started protesting, rightfully so, for the measures to be changed, for the people who were responsible or who had anything to do with this tragic incident to be held accountable. So, we're going to talk about a lot of those things. But that's what I want to reel in. We are seeing protests all over the world taking place in Urumqi because 10 people died. However, the West, media, politicians, some people in the United Nations, some people in the EU, people in Australia, people paid by the military industrial complex, they alleged that there has been genocide in Xinjiang for years and years and years. Millions in prison. Tons of people disappeared. People who have been um, killed, and but we don't see any protests. That's a really interesting part.
You
10
bet.
people die, massive protest, government reaction because the government already decided to modify their policies. But millions in prison, tons of people disappeared, genocide. But there is not a single video, not a single video irrefutable evidence of protest for those genocided and those people who died for this alleged genocide. And that is going to create a huge problem for all these people making these accusations. They say, oh, the people in Xinjiang are oppressed. Well, you see them on the streets protesting these 10 people that unfortunately died, but you don't see them protesting for your claimed genocide. And so, why is that so? That's the question
Exactly.
that people like Sophie from Human Rights Watch needs to answer. People like Fergus from ASPI, people like Drew Pablo will have to answer. So many of these people who accuse China without evidence, without facts, without apodictic information, and I owe it to you to teach me that word, but
Yep.
they still claim these things. So this is what I share with you, Mario, and that caught you by surprise. You shook me and said, like, we need to talk about this. So Mario, what was your reaction to
That's
that?
right. That's right. My reaction to that was, here's the perfect proof of what we've been saying all along. You're making these claims that something bad is happening. Okay. Uh, well, where's all the upset people? I said a couple of weeks ago on another podcast, I think it was with Alex over at Ching, Fernando, who I know you also did something with recently, and I think it was with him. I was on, and I said, okay, wait a second. So if all of this stuff is going on in a place called Xinjiang on planet Earth, where's the Google Street View? Why can't we see it? Right? We've got the United States military has satellites all over the world circling in orbit, and they can go see right down to the eyebrows on your face, okay, from a satellite in the sky. Okay, so they can see exactly what's happening in any place on planet Earth. That would definitely include Xinjiang, anywhere in China. That would include, there's nothing special about Xinjiang. There's no satellite blocking technology. There's nothing blocking Xinjiang. There's nothing special about Xinjiang. It's just another place on planet Earth. From the satellites in the sky, the most sophisticated and expensive multi-million dollar United States military industrial complex satellites that can see right down, to who you are on planet Earth. Hey, eye in the sky, there you are. Okay, and for years, there's a genocide in Xinjiang. There's a million people. Can you imagine 1 million people? Where would you put 1 million people in concentration camps? Okay, and this guy C.J. Whirlman, he's completely out of his mind. They used to say 1 million, then he upped it to 2 million, and then 4 million, and then 6 or even 8 million. And there's only 12 million Uyghurs in total in Xinjiang. So they're all in camps, right? Well, excuse me. Okay. If there was concentration camps and misery of any nature, wouldn't there be protests? Wouldn't there be uprisings? Look, everyone's talking about, zero COVID is difficult to deal with, and there's some people that are uprising in China. And immediately we see it on social media. Immediately we see 5, 10, 15, 20 videos, whether they're in Beijing or whether they're in Xinjiang now with the fire, the tragedy, and it's what a terrible tragedy. Our hearts go out to all those people. Okay. That's not the point here. The point doesn't matter whether it's Beijing, whether it's in Xinjiang, whether it's in Tallahassee, Florida. When there's protests, there's videos, and we see them all over the media. We see them all over the world, except for one thing. And this is what you said to me. Where's the protests? Where's the refugees? Where's the violence? Where's the rah-rah, sis, boom, bah? We're Uyghurs. We want our freedom. Stop hurting us. Stop oppressing us. Where's all those protests? There's protests for everything else. Where's the dead bodies? Where's the refugees trying to leave the country? Where's the people in their cars going, I got to get out of here? Where's the people running for the hills? There's never been a shred of evidence. You say there's concentration camps. Why don't the U.S. military, eye in the sky, multi-billion-dollar satellites show it to us?
No,
None
all
of
they
it
have
exists.
is
None of it is fake.
blue
Why?
roofs and satellite pictures from ASPI. No, but I'll tell you what
It's a
the
lie.
protests usually are. They are around Washington D.C. That's where they are. They are the 20 people, the 15 people that they show up with T-shirts and whatnot, free the Uyghur. Oh,
In London.
let me explain. there
In
were
London.
terrorists. Yeah, in London, in Australia, there were terrorists in Xinjiang. And those people either were caught and ended up in prison or they fled. And those are the people that have a gripe, that have an issue with Xinjiang, with China, with the government. But those people on the outside don't want you to understand that there was a huge problem called ETIM. So you have to understand where the people are coming from. The people who are Chinese diaspora, Uyghur diaspora, they have an issue with the changes that took place. And the changes that took place was that safety came back to Xinjiang for many, many years. There was tons of attacks, tons of bombs, and people driving into groups of people and doing horrible terrorism in Xinjiang. And there's a very interesting thing. China did not talk about that publicly for a very long time. They tried to keep it under on the wraps, For what reason, some people may ask. They didn't want to create hate against an ethnic group. They didn't want people to feel any negative feelings towards a group that had nothing to do. The Uyghurs in Xinjiang, the Muslims in Xinjiang, the people from different ethnic groups, because there are many ethnic groups in Xinjiang, they are the vast majority, and the vast majority of them are peaceful people, hardworking people, loving people, friendly people. And there
Exactly.
is a minority of elements that were radicalized, that were fundamentalist, and they wanted to um, implement a very strict form of Islam that didn't sit well with the rest of the Muslims in Xinjiang, and that was the clash that was taking place. Um, so that's the thing. Those are the people that you are listening to. You're listening to people like because honestly, I want to get back to this question. People like Nuri Turkel, people like Omar Khanat, all these people that are leading the World Uyghur Congress. Remember the Uyghur Tribunal in London? There was a very interesting thing about that, Mario. They asked the UK government for evidence of abuses and genocide and etc. etc. etc.
Well, we'll get back to
They
you.
got nothing. They
Exactly.
got nothing from the
Exactly.
UK government because there's nothing. So all they could do is that fake police officer, remember the one with the sunglasses and the COVID mask, a guy with chains that he bought in Turkey. There's all they have is stories from people who have issues with Xinjiang. If you go to Xinjiang, which anybody can do, you will see that people are living peacefully. You will see that people are living the best times of their lives. Again, I
We've been
wanted
telling
to,
them
I
for
wanted
years.
to, yeah, I wanted to um, go back to the COVID situation. We wanted to swiftly talk a little bit about the COVID situation here in China, and maybe if we have a friend up here, we get back to this initial topic. But what is taking place after the Big 20 with regards to COVID, Mario? What is your take?
Yeah, thank you, Fernando. And let me take a moment to encourage everyone. It's still available for free. Please do. I just did a brand new post update on the zero COVID policy here in China, and I just posted it. I regard it as a very, very critical update. And I invite all of you to uh, go to my Mr. Ma's Counterpoint China Substack newsletter, and please do subscribe. You're welcome to also become a paid subscriber, of course, but right now available for free. And I just did a new post about this um, based on the most recent developments for the last 3 weeks and I'll give you my rundown right now. Okay. Um, I had written a few weeks ago, in fact, before Arshadat, before the 20th National Congress, that here in China, zero COVID is becoming a permanent, meaning for several years, several more years, a permanent societal public health fixture of life in China. And wow, oh boy, really? This is quite a statement, okay? And that impression very much continues from my point of view. I'm walking you through the article that I posted in my Substack today. That point of view that I presented, some people think I'm crazy, but no, I'm telling you that's exactly the way it is. And it's people like Fernando and Alex, Jerry Gray, Jason at the Bridge, who understand, hey, this is the reality. This is what's going on here in China. Whether you like it or not, you can complain and scream all you want. This is the reality, okay? And it's only confirmed by recent developments, okay? So with respect to zero COVID now here in China, look, the Western world wants China to fail, to open up, which means to allow its people to start dying. Okay, and I'm telling you, folks, that simply is not going to happen. It's not going to happen, period. Okay, and we all know that as crystal clear as we know anything. Okay, and the recent efforts by the Chinese government released a new, more relaxed set of policies. Right, this was the big deal. Okay, but that was immediately predictably followed by a moderate rise in cases across the country, which was then followed by more lockdowns, which are now being done in a more targeted fashion. The good news is that when there are cases that quarantines and lockdowns are being done in a much more targeted fashion to interrupt and disrupt the lives of a far less number of people, that's the good news. But, however, with rising cases, we're seeing these less intrusive measures being implemented, but they're being more widely implemented across the country because of the rise in cases, because they've loosened the policy. See what I mean? So in the end, it's a rather complex and frustrating game of whack-a-mole. And in the end, it means we're back to square one. So let me be crystal clear about what I mean when I say we're back to square one. Beijing will never allow its people to start dying. Beijing will never allow what is happening in countries like the US and the UK right now, which are being ravaged by COVID death and long COVID, to happen here in China. It's not ever going to happen. At this stage, I'm also beginning to believe, here's another important update. It is the long COVID picture which Beijing is watching most closely. That's because the death rate has come down substantially. So then long COVID seems to be the bigger concern, and rightfully so. Right now in the United States of America, amongst the working population, which is around 170 million people, you got 25 million adults who are now struggling with long-term illness, long COVID, because COVID variants, including Omicron, attacking in crazy ways different organs in the body and even attacking the brain. Okay, the common cold does not do that, folks. The annual flu does not do that, folks. Okay, so don't listen to me. Don't listen to non-medical people. The people that I'm telling you this, that I know is true, is because on Twitter, I read the accounts of the doctors. They're the ones that know what's really going on. Doctors on the ground working every day, okay, seeing patients every day. Now, so like I said, I say China's going to make the zero COVID policies. This is permanent. This isn't going anywhere. People think I'm either crazy, right, or I'm not being clear enough. Well, I hope I've been very clear in what I just said to you. And I'm going to stop there. There's more to talk about, Fernando, in my post, but I'm going to stop there and give you a chance to jump in. Go ahead.
Well, I wanted to draw people's attention to what actually has been taking place after 2020 with COVID. The measures had been relaxed. Perhaps one of the most critical ones, or the ones that has a wider effect, is when they are not going to quarantine second contact. That's a very important change, because it It means that you are not going to be quarantined because somebody that you met somewhere was in another place. You are safe in that case. You are not going to be quarantined. You'll be asked to be maybe test um, for a couple of days, but that makes a huge difference. And another thing that I was sharing during the video that I did with Alex from Reportify Media is these micro targeting operations are taking place much faster. For example, there
Faster and
is
tighter.
a exactly there was a case in a place near where we are right now, and within 3 or 4 days it was lifted. The lockdown was lifted. What did they do? They jumped in, they started testing everybody, test, 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 check, 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 see what happened. What is the real situation? When they get all this data, and this is what you talk in your Substack, the data driven measures, then they realize, okay, this is not an issue. Everybody go back to normal. We're talking 3 to 4 days. That's what took place in
Correct.
Korea. You also told me a few weeks back that you guys had a similar situation, couple of days, and then
Yes.
back to normal. So
Yes. Yes.
it's getting the key thing is to react quickly. If you react quickly and you follow the procedure, you will be able to draw the information that is necessary to make the measures that are going to affect the least the population. The problem is when you don't react quickly. The problem is when citizens lie or fail to disclose information that was key and that led to, well, the spread without notice of the virus. That has happened a couple of times. And important to know that those people are held legally accountable for the trouble that they cause to the millions of people that are affected, for the thousands and thousands of renminbi, millions of renminbi that it cost to the cities, to the local governments to implement these lockdowns and quarantines. Those peoples are held accountable and they're made into an example. You do not lie to health authorities about your COVID situation. You will be held accountable and you will
Yeah.
get into big trouble. That's a very
Yeah.
important message to remind people. So
That's right.
what we are seeing here is, yes, there are more cases. Yes, people are getting people are getting frustrated with the mistakes in the logistics. People understand that the zero COVID is necessary, but when the logistics are not implemented properly, that's when people protest. That's when people go to the streets
And
and, well,
are
they made it clear that they're not happy with
are
what's
they,
taking. Yep,
Fernando? Are they protesting the Chinese government? No.
they are they are
No.
protesting the
The
implementation.
incompetent. Right. They're protesting. You screwed up. Somebody screwed up. That's not Beijing didn't screw up. Xi Jinping didn't screw up. Okay. They're saying Xi Jinping, somebody screwed up. We're demanding that you, our government, hold them accountable. So they're not protesting the government. They're protesting government incompetence that occurred that caused a tragedy or a problem, and they expect the government to be held accountable. Now, if that
And
isn't the hell government, if that the hell isn't government for the people, what is?
but you hear all the time this Western news, Western media saying that you cannot protest in China, that the Chinese people are oppressed, that
Yeah.
they don't have the power to force the government into doing the things that they want and they need. They do. They do. They have the power, and that's what Western media is showing you taking place in China because the people have the power. But here's the thing, they don't revolt against the government because they like the
No.
government. because
They
they are
like the government.
okay with the government, because they are satisfied with the conditions and the wealth and the well-being and the safety. They're satisfied with how the government is run in the country. That's why they don't
Yeah.
revolt against the government. They revolt and protest, rightly so, when individuals mess up. That's
Fernando,
a very
three
important
scenarios.
difference.
That's right. Three scenarios that had recently occurred when what we're saying exactly is demonstrated. The first was about 2, 3 months ago. It was the bank problem, the bank freeze of the accounts in was also in Junjo, if I recall correctly. Okay.
Hmm.
And the CNN, they presented it as the people protesting against the bank, against the government. They weren't protesting against the government. They were protesting against the banks who, if it's true, you find out in a court of law, who screwed them, and they were protesting, screaming to the government to deal with it and to fix it and to find out who did what wrong and make them accountable. That's not a government protest. That's a protest against the problem and asking the government to fix it. I mean, that was the first example. The second example is Foxconn Junjo, which is this week recently also. The problem isn't the Chinese government. The problem isn't Xi Jinping. The problem isn't zero COVID. The problem was on Foxconn. They were doing a lousy job of implementing for several weeks zero COVID policy with their workers in the dormitories. They were driving everybody crazy. Some workers quit. They brought in new workers. They didn't properly make sure the new workers got tested before they let them go in and mix with the people who've been in lockdown for weeks who were clean and clear and tested. And so people were like, "What are you doing letting these people in? We've been in lockdown for weeks to stay safe and protected, and now here you are letting new people in without having tested them." It was Foxconn, and the people got outrageous
Foxconn.
pissed off, and they should have gotten outrageous pissed off if Foxconn, as or any company, not I don't care if McDonald's or Foxconn or Starbucks or Tesla, I don't care who it is, the company's treating the employees poorly and the employees start getting pissed off, right? So then there's protest. Okay, fine. And then also they were upset. In addition, what triggered it, what really flashed it, the catalyst was that the new people that came in were then had been told one thing regarding a bonus they were going to get. And then after
Hmm.
they arrived or later on, they were told, "Oh, no, no, you're not going to get that bonus till 60 days later. Oh, that's not what you told me when you hired me." So again, these are business items. These things had nothing to do with the government or the city of
Or with
Junjo or
zero
the
COVID.
municipal government. They were the employees unhappy with the management of the company Foxconn. These were business matters. And what were the protests? A lot of the protesters had Chinese flags.
Yeah.
We're Chinese. We're not going to let you treat us this way. And calling on the government to
To
fix
fix it.
it and to make Foxconn accountable. That's not protesting the government.
So,
Man, they try
guys,
they
but
twist they
it's
twist this
all
stuff to make it look like unbelievable.
the thing that makes it really,
So
really annoying to me, and um, it's these clips, these videos, these pieces of something that is taking place that are so easy to twist, that is so easy to manipulate, that's so easy to misinterpret. I mean, the
yeah,
situation in Genjo at Foxconn, it was run so hard as a COVID situation until they had to step in and say, like, no, this is a labor dispute, this is a problem between the employers and the employees. COVID is secondary. We're done with that. We're taking care of that. But of course, once the information is out, the West keeps thinking, oh, this is all about COVID. When is COVID going to end? When is China going to open? When is China going to drop the zero COVID policy. My take, and I shared it with you in on Twitter, was, look, would I like uh, the zero COVID policy to stop? Yeah, that would be nice to be able to move around, work around, travel more, go here, go there. That would be great. But would I be worried about getting it and perhaps suffer from long COVID? I'll be scared as hell. Would I be worried about my in-laws who are at an age that is, well, prone to be more affected? Of course I would. Do I want them to get
Yeah.
COVID and get? No, I don't. I I have that conundrum, so to speak. I know this is great. I know seeing people at the World Cup without masks and celebrating and doing all these things looks so enticing, so good. Like, why? Why can't we do that? But just wait a few weeks. Just wait a few weeks and check out the numbers spiking all over the world from all those people who are in Qatar without wearing masks. It is,
It's
you can
pure.
take the money to the bank. It is going to happen, and it is. Sorry, my cat is playing with my camera. All right, cat out. Do you understand what I'm saying? It's it's going to take place. That's some of the spikes that we see here in China. Whenever there is a summer, let me put myself in until Myra comes back. Whenever there is a summer vacation or a whatever vacation, people travel around, people move around, and what happens? Cases rise up. So it's very normal when people get together or move around to see cases spiking and increasing. That's what we've seen for the last 3 years. After summer holiday, after National Day, right? Numbers go up. Now, don't tell me that you don't think the numbers are going to go up in Qatar and all over the world after the World Cup. They will. So these things that we are looking at from a distance, thinking, "Oh, that looks so nice. It looks so great," right? You wait. I much rather continue to test every day, to scan my QR code wherever I go into places, because it costs me absolutely nothing. The way I put it in the tweet was, and I think you commented on it,
Yep.
zero COVID is not something that the government does to you. Zero COVID is something that the government does for you and your loved ones. It is a service. It is protecting you. It's not oppressing you, it's protecting you. If you don't
Well,
understand that, that's where you have a dissonance. You have a disconnect with the
yeah,
fact, the reality of what,
yeah.
well, COVID is. COVID is
It,
here to
it
stay. It's not over.
it's for you. I love what you just said. Zero COVID is for you. Now, let's not deny that it requires your participation. It requires your civic duty. It requires you to do your part, and that's tough. Okay. But look, man, I personally have, two people that I know who were not elderly, who are dead from COVID. Okay. I don't know anybody who's died from the common cold, and I don't know anybody who's died from the flu. But I know two people who, one was a dear friend of mine. Okay. And he's gone. Okay. He's gone. All right. So this is the reality. Okay. So every time people in China complain about that there's a lot of Europeans up here in Shenyang, and a lot of them are my dear friends because, of course, Shenyang is BMW. But a lot of the time they're talking and they might be complaining, bitching, pissing, and moaning about the COVID policy and how inconvenient it is. Okay. They never say thank you.
Mm,
Well, what the heck is Mr. Ma talking about here? What am I talking about, Fernando? They never say thank you. Okay, there's one guy, he's the head of a big organization, and gets up and, well, China's got a lot of problems and challenges because of zero COVID, and we hope it's going to end soon. And I'm waiting for this person to say, as much as we appreciate that 5 million people's lives have been saved, and they never say it. They never say it. Okay. So 5 million mothers and fathers and grandmas and grandpas, thank you for your civic duty, and their children. Okay. Thank you for your civic duty because grandma and grandpa are still alive. Okay.
There was
And
something that
I don't know,
Alex shared that was really interesting about
that's not nothing.
about the situation in Chongqing. 510,000 volunteers. 510,000 volunteers in Chongqing taking care of
Yes.
testing, taking care of
Just in
deliveries,
Chongqing.
just in Chongqing. 500, well, it's a city of 14 million people, but just this zero COVID policy runs not only on government and doctors and health uh, organization, is run by volunteers. Most of the people out there are volunteers. And this is what riles me up and makes my blood boil. When you see people abusing these people, this dabai, the guys in the hazmat suit, getting abused verbally or physically, a person who's giving you a service, a person who's putting himself at risk, who's putting his family at risk by being close to so many people who he doesn't know whether they are infected or not. He's putting himself and his family at risk for you. And you're coming to abuse him? And you're coming and yelling and throwing tantrums? Oh, Hushi Fan Song, God give me patience because
Hmm.
that just makes me so angry. The situation in Guangzhou, where there were two girls uh, showing up to a test site without wearing a mask, all dolled up with cameras ready, influencers trying to get infamous on social media. That kind of stuff just makes me so angry. But
That's
guys,
great. Let me
we
continue.
yeah, sure.
What are you thinking? No, no, no. What are you thinking? Good. I was going to continue on the rest of the COVID update, but go ahead. What's on your mind?
Sure. No, no, no. Go, go, go. And then I wanted to wrap up with a message to the China haters, the people who attack China, and how
Yeah,
what
that's
we're
good too.
seeing in Xinjiang is problematic for this genocide accusers. But let's
Good.
finish up the COVID
Good.
idea.
Yep. Let me give you five more. Give me 5 more minutes to run through. And again, this is the absolute most recent my update on what's happening as far as COVID goes. So I want to repeat to everyone why this is happening in China. Why does China have zero COVID? Why is zero COVID the policy for China? There's got to be a value system underlying that drives this decision. Okay. Back in America, the decisions are made because they decide, and President Trump at the time came right out and said it. Oh, we can't let the economy get bad. Okay. So they clearly chose the economy over people's lives. Okay. This is not me being rhetorical. This is me repeating the value system over there. Oh, no, 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 no. If you're going to die, you're going to die. There's only so much we can do about it. We can't let the economy crumble. Oh, okay. So your economy is more important, and you see the decisions that they made regarding their COVID policy is in line with their underlying values. Okay? In China, that is not the values. Okay. This is a traditional culture society rooted in the value of marriage, family, households as a stable core of society with a high degree of filial piety. That means your family, your obligation to take care of your parents and your grandparents. And it's most in line with Italy, as we say. I'm Italian, la familia, right? And this is the core societal set of values, which in large part drives what life will be like and is like here in China. And the government still fully supports this. They will not allow in and do not want any deviation from this into these neoliberal values with too much emphasis on individualism. They don't want it, and they're not going to let it in. Okay. I'm not saying you don't want, you can tell me all you want, how much you like it or don't like it. I'm describing to you what is going on. All right. Protecting your family, protecting your family's health is of extremely high value. And yes, that is in direct conflict with economic interests. But this is the reality, okay? Now, there's a swell of discussions on Twitter about all these things, all right? I got a section in this post about Andrew Tate. He's a very popular voice, but I'm going to skip that whole story. Subscribe to the newsletter and read the article, and you'll figure out that whole Andrew Tate angle. I talk about why he got banned from social media, and it's not for the reason that he thinks. All right, I'm going to skip that whole part because it's not about China's COVID policy. All right, go read it later when you have time. So let me go back to it again. This post is about many irrational views about COVID in the West and China's policy. Okay, that letting it rip is okay, that the pandemic is over, that it's not severe. Okay, China knows all of those assertions are completely untrue. That is why China has a zero COVID policy, and that is why this zero COVID policy, as I explained, isn't going anywhere. China will do what is best for China, and China will not kowtow to these urges and voices from the West. Okay, COVID remains a severe pandemic problem. You want to be in denial of that? We don't care. We're not in denial of it. That's the position from which the Chinese government is going to continue to respond, whether anybody likes it or not. And this is not going to change anytime soon. Okay. COVID severity up to current Omicron variants is still creating severity 3, 5, 10 times worse than the typical annual flu. This includes the severity of symptoms, death rate, which though is getting lower, much lower now, but long COVID, that's the main problem. All right. There's no arguing about this. There's only denying whether it's happening, because it is happening. If you're asking China to open up, okay, take a look at the current statistical results in the West. Okay. Jerry, it was Fernando, it was Jerry earlier today. I read one of his posts today from COVID in the US. Okay. It's at
4,000.
2,000 deaths per week. It's 300 deaths a day. Okay. Whatever the numbers are, the hospitalizations, the deaths happening in the West, okay, you want to pick the United States, you want to pick Europe, you take those numbers, okay, and if you want China to do what you say, oh, you people are ridiculous in China, zero COVID is ridiculous, China should open up and do like the rest of us, because the rest of the world must be right. You just take all the bad numbers in the West and you multiply them by 4.3. Because the Chinese population is 4.3 times the population of the United States. All right. And that would be what the numbers would be here. It would be a freaking disaster. Okay. So they're trying to hide from you how bad it is in the West. Somebody commented in the comments section that they're not even reporting it anymore in the United States. What do you think? So then you don't know how bad it really is. So as we're heading into the third year of the pandemic, okay, with zero COVID in China, is it true that more and more Chinese people are getting frustrated and can't bear the economic pressure? Yes, that's for sure true. Come on, man.
Everybody's struggling.
It's unfortunate and it's true. But anti-China voices in the West are using incidents that are happening as an indication, as proof that China is broadly falling apart, that all the people have had enough, okay? This is nonsense, okay? The majority of Chinese already know and understand we need to protect our families. Yes, it's frustrating. Yes, it's difficult, but they are not calling on the Chinese government to stop doing zero COVID as their approach and as their policy, okay? Dissent to cancel zero COVID in China remains relatively small, and I believe it will continue to be relatively small to the population, again, compared to a population of 1.4 billion, the majority of whom know zero COVID is necessary. Okay, so this is becoming a societal public health policy fixture here in China, okay, and the people accept this. All right, protecting your family's health is a priority. All right. Lastly, the idea that China needs to import the Western mRNA vaccines is like that's some kind of a solution or some kind of a cure or some kind of an answer is nonsense. It's completely irrelevant to everything that we're discussing here. China's zero COVID policy will not change in any way, shape, or form if if they were to suddenly say, okay, everybody go get Pfizer mRNA vaccines. Why is that? Because we know that Sinovac 3 shot is just as effective as any mRNA. Plus, there are serious concerns about the side effects of mRNA. Everybody knows about the myocarditis problem, people dropping dead all over the world. This is serious. I don't know exactly what it is, but it needs to be looked into. China has several vaccines in their pipeline right now, including mRNA formula vaccines, several different companies in China. These vaccines are in the pipeline. They will let them out and release them when they feel they are safe enough to inject people with, and when they are an improvement over what is the current vaccine situation. Okay? That's what's going on with the vaccines. Anybody that says, well, one of the reasons that China is not doing well with COVID is because they won't allow mRNA vaccines. This is a complete bunk. This is nonsense. This is complete inaccurate, scientifically inaccurate idea and information. Now, whoever you are, whether you're a Chinese family in the countryside, whether you're a rich Chinese family in the middle of a big urban city, or a hardworking merchant owner in the city, or whether you're an expat living in China, in the countryside or in the city, whatever it is, okay? And if you're feeling frustrated by the Chinese government's unwillingness to prioritize your business over the health of its people, whatever it is, that's what it is. Deal with it. That's what I'm telling you, okay? I'm
Mario,
telling you
somebody's
what it is.
asking.
I'm not expressing an
Somebody,
opinion. I'm telling you what it is. I'm done, Fernando. Thank you.
somebody's asking. I put it on the screen. Where can we read your newsletter? Could you remind our audience?
Absolutely. Can you type it in? Fernando? For whatever reason,
Yep.
I'm a guest, so I can't type in. It's mariocavolo.substack.com. mariocavolo.substack.com.
Substack.com. Okay.
My name.
It's going to
That's
appear right there.
exactly right. That's exactly right. Yes. And again, it's Mr. Ma's Counterpoint China. Read this article, subscribe, and I appreciate it. Fernando, this is reality. You know, people talk about opinions. I'm like, no, I'm not giving you an opinion. I'm not here to give you an opinion. I'm here to describe what's happening. Hi. So listen, folks. Today, the sky's blue. There's some clouds over there. The temperature is 25 degrees. It's kind of nice. The only opinion was the last part. It's kind of nice.
Yeah.
The rest was just a description of the situation. Yeah, this is what's happening. It's not my opinion. You know, and the same for you and so many of the other guys that we know who are here. Again, I feel like we're the only ones that know what's going on, and everybody else just didn't want to listen, man.
Well, we just
They
know
just don't want
that
to listen.
they're trying to push China to do what they did, to do what they have done, to shoot itself in the foot. And of course, it's not going to do it. Now, I wanted to kind of like wrap up this video, Mario, because we said we're going to do a Type 20. We never do Type 20s. Now, 15 minutes. Why
Sorry.
is this horrible and sad fire in Xinjiang problematic for genocide accusers? When we talk about genocide accusers, we're talking about all those minions and all those big names like Fergus Ryan from ASPI, who is very interested in why my Twitter account was suspended. So this message is for all those people accusing the Chinese government of genocide in Xinjiang. You're all seeing in the West images of protests in Xinjiang because 10 people died in a fire. You've seen also the government react and change policies in response to those protests.
Yeah.
10 people who sadly died, and the city goes out and protests. And now you're telling us that there's been a genocide for
With
years
no
and
protest.
years on the Uyghur population,
With no
and yet
protests.
you cannot show us any protest. Everybody has a mobile phone with a camera today. And I want to remind these haters that I know are going to come to my Twitter once I post this, that I'm just a guy. I'm not sponsored by the government. I'm not paid by the government. I'm not helped by the government. I'm just a guy that observes things. 10 people die, protests all over the internet, all over the news. Genocide for years, no protests. Only in Washington, in London and Australia. People who left with passports, people in exiles, people who had issues with, well, the stopping of terrorism in Xinjiang. That's interesting. So that's why it's going to be problematic for you people. Where are
Okay.
the protests against the genocide?
They have
Show
no
us.
evidence. They have no proof.
Show us. Where are the refugees? I mean, we're not even asking for evidence of the genocide. We're not even asking for that. They haven't been able to. Everything is the risk of this, the potential for that. It's probably, likely, could, might, possibly. That's everything they write. And what is it? Amnesty International with their cartoons, right? And the satellite photos from ASPI, because they don't know nothing. Bloomberg goes and says, like, oh, we didn't get to see any of the CEOs of the solar industries, but there could be forced labor. We didn't get to go into any of the factories, but there could be. That's all they have. Could be, might be, likely, possibly, probably. All that means is they don't know. So again, we're not asking for evidence of genocide. We're asking evidence for the protests against that genocide. None. No evidence of
Definitely.
genocide, no evidence of the protest.
Focus.
But 10 people
Focus.
die, 10 people
Yeah.
die all over the Western world, protests against the government for what took place. So think, people. Think. Think for a moment. Well, guys, I want to give you, Mario, one last second to, well, plug whatever it is that you're working on, and then we wrap it up. So what have you got to say to our audience to say goodbye?
Thank you, Fernando, because in fact, I do want to mention something. I want to teach everyone. I have a 20-year background in communication skills, and I want to teach everyone how to identify and protect yourself from when you're being manipulated and deceived. How does that sound? Does that sound valuable? Does that sound like great knowledge to possess? If you go to my YouTube channel, I'm going to offer this for free. Of course, I'm happy to accept any donations that you make to the channel, but I'm offering it for free. I've started the series, how to identify and protect yourself from manipulation and deception. I gave this program to Vistage International CEOs many years ago. I've done these kinds of programs for all the major corporations, all the Fortune 500 companies. Again, it's my background. Before I got my career shifted to China in corporate training, I'm going to bring this back because I want all of you to have this important and valuable knowledge to protect yourself. There's so many monsters out there now manipulating and deceiving you with their techniques. Okay. You need to identify it. You need to be able to identify it. You need to be able to protect yourself from it. I hope that sounds good to you. Check
That
out my
is
YouTube channel, Mr. Mouse China Adventures, and that you're going to find that series on there. That's it, Fernando. Thank you, brother.
all right, guys. Thank you so very much for watching. And remember, whenever you hear anybody talking about genocide in Xinjiang, ask them that question: why there is no evidence of genocide? Why there is no evidence of the protest? But when 10 people die, you show us tons of videos of people protesting those sad deaths. Guys, that's all for today. Thank you so much. Remember to like, comment, share, and, well, if you want to help this channel, make sure to hit the link in the description down below to buy us a cup of coffee. And, well, until we see you again, thank you so much. And this has been The War on China with Mario Cabolo and Fer Move. Until we see you again, take it easy and bye for now.
再见，朋友们。